Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
A very excited Tactica Imperialis. Hello everyone! Yes, you know why.
Yes, we do indeed, but we'll get to that shortly. But first, joining us as our guest this week after a surprisingly long absence, but absence makes the heart grow fonder, as we can all say, the voice of Corax, I can't speak today, what is wrong with me? I don't care, but anyway, the voice of Corvus Corax himself, I got there in the end, the Fresh Sorcerer.
Hello, it's me, Fresh. I'm everyone's least favorite Primarch. It's been a bit, and, I've noticed that I'm here on the 169th episode, and while these guys, they'll say that I'm not here because of that very significant and good number. I think that we all know that that's a bold-faced lie, and they should be ashamed of themselves for lying to their audience like that. And I am going to kill you on the social media, and I am going to get everyone to firebomb your house, Remleiz. It's going to be really funny.
Fresh, we're in the first 2 minutes. Please don't get us demonetized.
Well, that escalated quickly, but anyway, comment down below with the generic nice comment because haha funny sex numbers. But anyway,
it's been less than 2 minutes. Don't get us demonetized.
It's relevant.
Technically, it would have been over 2 minutes with the intro, but anyway.
I thought it was the first 10 seconds, or that they changed that to be like, nope, now it's 2 minutes.
They've changed it now. It's the first 8 seconds now, apparently.
Gosh darn it to heck, YouTube.
But anyway, in the news this week, let's just start with the thing that...
Farsight.
Yes, that.
I can't tell what's out.
Yeah, some minor Xenos model. No one cares about it, but anyway.
Right, yes. So it was Warhammer World Open Day on the 4th of March. I think we talked about it in a previous episode. And they dropped 4 new models and a bunch of stuff alongside. I'm not going in order of what they were revealed in because I refuse. I am starting exactly where you knew everyone who knows me knows I would be starting, and that is with the brand new Commander Farsight miniature. Because it's absolutely amazing and I love it.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this. I'm not too keen on the head. I prefer the older head sculpt, like with the actual, the whole shockwave eye, as opposed to this VR headset manga thing from the 1980s style visor.
Well, how do you think Tau weapons are so, accurate? They have an Oculus Rift in there,
Oculus is in there?
He's also in there. He's also in there. We're gonna get as many.
He gets
people.
A Carandron model, and now he gets a Tau model.
Oh god! Imagine a battlesuit AI that's just the voice of Oculus.
I think.
I thought you said you didn't want us to get demonetized from people having, Anyway.
Anyway. So yes, it is a radical yet subtle redesign. The suit looks a lot sleeker. A lot more, I think Kirioth pointed out how much more curved it is rather than very blocky like the normal XV85. It is a brand new suit, the XV86 Supernova, which sounds like a Cold Star variant because the XV86 was a Cold Star. So we will see if it is Cold Star based in rules. He's still got the Dawnblade, still got the plasma rifle. The head is very different. I personally don't object, but they've just done an exceptional job. Now, there is one thing we do need to point out, and that's his wrist, because...
Oh, yeah, because people are making I'll be honest, very stupid assumptions.
Yeah, right. So,
opinion.
Little lore lesson. Farsight picked up some talismans on Arthas Moloch that had hexagrammatic wards on them. This is one of them, or a replication of them, if nothing else.
Yes, it has nothing to do with the Dark Angels or the Hexagrammaton. The fact that they both use an incursive hexagram as their geometric shape is nothing more than a coincidence.
Indeed.
Speaking of subtlety, I cannot help but admire the fact that they're really playing into the fact that the Tau melee man has fucking poofy hakama like a samurai, and there's
oh god, yeah, the legs, yeah,
and there's fucking alien sakura blossoms out of the ground. So it's like real subtle with what Farsight is supposed to be. And then there's the little samurai plating on the shoulder, but I don't know. It's
Fresh. I'm sure you've seen the little edit that Eliphas made in regards to the new Farsight model reveal, where he added like anime stop music to it. Because I showed Tactica it, and their reaction was, "Thanks, I hate it."
Yes, that was my exact reaction. I knew exactly what was going on. I was like, "Oh, for God's sake!" But I did understand.
Yeah, it's but I don't know. In terms of the model itself, it looks nice. It looks nice enough. I always like sometimes I go out into meat space and I see like people with models and whatnot, and I'm always surprised by how small they are. And I had to admit, if somebody can like take this thing and like paint it to be as detailed as this, I'm gonna be impressed and terrified of you, just because of how fucking small these models tend to be.
I'm not going to paint it to that standard, but I still haven't finished, because I was going to do it as a little streaming series, my Gazcul from Psychic Awakening, and yes, I know that was 3 years ago. But because I just wanted to do it as a streaming thing, and then I couldn't stream. No, but this is now like the only model I actually really want to paint. Like, I love to hobby, but I seem to enjoy building more than I do painting. This is going to be my... Well, it might not be my magnum opus, because 30k Magnus is right there, but this is the model that is going to consume the rest of my hobby time this year, because I want it done right. Farsight has been my boy for the last 6 years, and... No, 7 years. And I want it done right, so I'm going to do it.
I want to say, like, would you ever consider commissioning an actual professional artist to paint it for you?
This is the thing with me.
Like someone like Chip Paints, for example.
Oh, yeah, but no, because by that logic, I should, because then it's painted to the highest possible quality. But there's a part of me that then says, but it's not mine.
I can understand that viewpoint.
Like, I have a colour scheme, and I easily ask for it to be replicated, but if it's replicated by somebody else, then it's not going to look the same. There will be those subtleish differences between theirs and mine because of just different people's painting styles. I don't know. I probably should, considering how much I want this model to look amazing, but by the same token, I don't know.
No, I get that.
Budget.
It's you want it to, like, you know, somebody could perhaps do it more like, technically proficient, but it wouldn't be. You want your guys to look like your guys with your touch. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, carrying on the Farsight train before we move along, there is Arcs of Omen 4 Farsight. They did do that. We sort of knew they were going to, but now we've got it confirmed. And I'm going to be honest, as an Orc player, as well as a Tau player, this is all my bloody Christmases come at once. Because we've got Farsight against Nazdreg in the War of Daka.
Please give us a new Nazdreg model.
They won't.
Never ever.
No, but...
all we've got is the second edition model, and it looks kind of crap compared to the current ones.
It is jank. But for me, as an Orc player as well, my first exposure to the Tau was reading about the War of Daka in the 4th edition Orc Codex. That was my first real exposure to the Tau. And the War of Daka plays a huge part in who Farsight is as a commander. So actually getting them to do the War of Daka and resolve that plot thread that everyone had forgotten from 2008, 2000 and whatever, is just brilliant. So I'm really looking forward to it. Now, my most popular tweet of, I think, all time was posted the other day, and it was the most basic tweet I have ever written. Because...
Oh, yeah, I remember this, yeah.
In the Farsight lore article that they did, they talked a bit about what Farsight's been doing since we last saw him at the end of the battles for Mugalath Bay, where he bailed Shadow Sun out. And he's gone back to end the War of Daka, a bizarre conflict in which the Orcs seem determined to outshoot the Tau or die trying. Yep, Orcs. So when one of Vashtor's Arcs of Omen shows up, Farsight might just feel the tug of the Blood God, because Khorne has had an eye on Farsight's soul since Arthas Moloch. And Farsight is going back to Arthas Moloch in part of this book. And as a result, they are teasing, hinting that maybe they're going to do something with Farsight's loyalties, shall we say. And I really...
Just like Kais in the Fire Warrior novel.
I just don't want them to do Chaos Tau. Or if they do, I don't want it to be Farsight.
I have an idea. If they want to make like a major Tau character fall to Chaos, why not Kais? Because he's already gone kind of psychopathic, hasn't he? You know, after being, kept awake in stasis for like 300 years or whatever. He's completely insane. He's like completely bloodthirsty. Kais would probably be the perfect choice to make a Khornate Tau.
Kais would be the flip, but all the pieces are in place for Shova because Red, Melee, Hot-Blooded, the 8, as you say. There are a large...
Then again, doesn't Tzeentch also have his eye on him as well?
Tzeentch has had his eye on him because he went through Paul Malkaor and the only Tau we've ever seen be possessed. So Tzeentch has had an eye on Farsight, but I think if I was Tzeentch, I'd be looking at more like the Ethereal Council. Because Nurgle, I think, will have their eye on Shadow Sun now. After all.
Spoilers. Because that novel's not actually out yet, technically.
Sorry, I'll shut up.
Just
after the Battle of the Startide Nexus, because that is something I can say. That's old. That's old lore, so I can say that.
Yes.
So no, I genuinely don't want them to turn Farsight to Chaos, but I'm very interested to see how Farsight will grapple with being put in the position to be Tau Horus, because that's what I think they're going to offer him is Tau Horus. You can be the one to bring the Ethereal's dream crashing down and bring the Tau into a new age of glory, enlightenment, and peace under your rule without the oppression and tyranny of the Ethereals.
The Taurus heresy, there you go.
Indeed. So I'm very curious to see where this goes. I really hope they don't turn into Chaos, which I don't think they are doing, given they just gave him a new non-chaosified model. I don't think they are going to, but still.
I mean, I wouldn't put past Games Workshop these days. Like, here's a brand new model, next edition. By the way, it's no longer usable. Because didn't they actually do it with a couple of them, like from 7th edition? Here's a model from 7th edition. You can't use it in 8th or something.
Pass.
Because it got like immediately retired into the Legends thing or whatever it was.
Can't remember. Top of my head. Can't remember.
I'm pretty sure there was at least one that had that and everyone got really pissed off about it.
Understandably so. So, last thing on Tau, Farsight is going to be included first in a boarding patrol, which contains a crisis squad, a fire warrior / breacher team squad, and some drones, plus him. And that is the Tau boarding patrol. I will be buying it.
Quick question. Going back to when earlier you said about the Cold Star. Didn't he, when he piloted up Cold Star briefly in his first novel, didn't he also hijack the AI for his crisis suit?
I think he did.
Because I'll explain why this has got some Cold Star elements to it, because he's got that Cold Star AI implanted into his XP8 or whatever it is. Yeah,
like this is a new suit. It is a new bleeding edge suit. It is stated quite clearly he's got a new suit.
He's got a new hat.
It's just because XV86 is the Cold Star designation, and he knows that. So I don't know exactly what they're doing with it, but given the reliance of speed for a Mont car, I wouldn't be surprised. Also, we learned what show means.
Oh?
It means inner light, apparently.
Yeah, they're really not even trying to hide these anime references now, are they?
Have they ever?
They tried to make it be at least a little subtle. A little subtle.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I think that GW threw out subtlety when Rabute Gilliman came back in his big dumb power armor with a fucking heavy bolter in the hand and wielding a sword the size of a semi-truck.
The Emperor's sword, no less.
Yes,
I agree with you on that, yes.
And it's like, look, subtlety and Warhammer have never been very close friends, but they used to be friends. like a few years ago, like, I don't know, fucking 10, 20 years ago, maybe 30 if you're generous, but it's like nowadays it's like, nah, we're just gonna give you just shiny new models all the time and you're gonna fucking spend so much money on them, and then when we come out with the next edition, you can't fucking use them, so have fun, dipshit.
And speaking of shiny new models and the War of Daka, Snickrot.
Yes, like I said, all my Christmases come at once on this day. So yes, Boss Snickrot got redone. I don't know if I actually prefer the old one in terms of just the way it looks, because the old one looked really cool, but that's probably just me being old now. Still,
excuse you.
It's a really cool model. It really suits Snickrot with a little tactical visor type thing, smoke grenade, Mork's teeth, standard stuff really. And it is a really good sculpt, as all the orcs are. And his boarding patrol is huge. It's 10 Beast Snagger Boys, 10 Commandos, 5 Flash Kits plus him. It's huge. It's a really cool box set, to be honest, and while it's not conventional, it's a really powerful orc army to start you off. Because Flash Kits are broken. For an army, yeah. Mm. Like, Beast Snagger Boys hit like a truck, Commandos give you loads of tactical flexibility, and Flash Kits hit like a truck from range.
Aren't the Commandos also the ones from the Kill Team box set?
They are. They're the new ones.
Yeah.
Because
nice.
Yeah. So no, it's a good box, to be honest. And were I more dedicated as an orc player, I think I would pick it up. But I already have some Beast Snagger Boys. I already have some Flash Kits. And if I want Commandos, I think I'm not going to get 2 extra squads of stuff I already have to do it.
Fair enough.
But it's a good box. While we're here, the Open Day also had 2 Age of Sigmar releases. Khorne and Slaanesh got a new hero, as well as some new stuff.
Didn't Khorne get what is basically, for all intents and purposes, a sorcerer?
So, a Realm Gore Ritualist. They carve desecrating runes into the ground and causing a blood rain as a result, which gives you a massive +1 attack bonus if you're within 8 inches of a certain terrain feature.
So basically they use magic.
It's basically magic, yes. It is basically magic.
Well, you see, it's not like shooting fireballs or stuff like that. It's blood, so it's fine.
It's
fine.
Blood magic. It's
blood. It's fine. It's fine. Khorne's okay with you using a fucking bolter that shoots demons. So it's like his policy of anti-magic is very flexible sometimes, and it's usually
we call this the we call this the Othere weird make reasoning.
It's like, hey, Khorne hates it when you use magic, except if you hammer it into something he thinks is really cool. Or if you make blood rain down from the sky. Like, is your sword on fire and it has a bonus to hit because it's like got a fucking bloodthirster in it or some shit, and it makes you always accurate, which kind of goes against like the whole, oh hey, you can just fight on your own and I think you're a cool guy. No, he thinks that's cool because it's like it helps you kill better. So I think the Khorne's just a little baby. He's a special little baby who doesn't like magic because he's mad at Tzeentch for having so many spells.
Indeed. However, if you feel like ranting and raving while also killing enemy models, you might be interested in the new Blades of Khorne Battle Tome, which we are getting probably for Warhammer Club, as well as the Vanguard box, their Combat Patrol, Slaughter Priest, 10 Blood Reavers, 10 Blood Warriors, and 3 Juggernauts. I'm very glad they put Juggernauts in there, because everybody loves Juggernauts. Also, they could have put a Korgorath in there, but they didn't, which I actually respect. They didn't just put a Korgorath in there. It's a good box, actually. It's a good starter box for Mortal Khorne, and if you pair it up with the Chaos Demons Combat Patrol, that's all Khorne Demons. So you actually have a Mortal Khorne and a Demon Khorne box available for you if you wish. So it's a really good place to be a Khorne player. It's a good time to be a Khorne player for Age of Sigmar because there's 2 great boxes and a brand new book coming your way. However, if taking skulls is a bit too not your speed and you'd rather be rending the flesh of others, how about Slaanesh? Because they got a hero too, the Lord of Hubris.
I'm sure that nothing bad will happen to him or her.
I love this model.
God.
Like, I really, really like this model. And it's actually, the Lord of Hubris is also his ability is, I've got a 4+ invulnerable save, and I'm going to let you hit me first. Like, he can basically just tell a unit, you're going to attack me now, but I'll let you go first, which is a really good distraction tactic to protect a wounded unit or something that you really need to get an attack off. You can give a unit always strikes first, but it has to attack your Lord of Hubris, who has a 4+ invulnerable save to tank the damage.
Interesting.
The 4+ invuln save, that's not terrible.
No, and in Age of Sigmar, that's actually pretty good. Most units don't have that kind of defense. A 4 ward is very, very good on defense.
Oh, yeah. I mean, knowing my dice luck, I'd never, get it. Just because I've missed, 3+ saves before on, mass fires before, and it's made me very upset.
I was playing a game the other day and rolled 3 to wound and 4 dice and rolled 4 1s. So, it happens.
I think the most ridiculous one that ever happened to me was I was playing, this was years ago, and I was playing a game versus Space Marines, and I was Chaos, and I was like, okay, I'll listen to the common wisdom and say, fuck Chaos Space Marines, I'll use mass cultists, because I'm gonna be boring today. And I had 40 cultists, and they were gonna shoot at a squad of Primaris, interdictors, I think they're called, or inter something. It's one of their special
Intercessors is their
Intercessors. Intercessors. Anyway, I shot the intercessors, and when you go and you're in full auto range, you add another dice on top of the dice that you have, right? So it's 40 cultists firing at these intercessors, full auto. That means I got 80 dice, and I just need to roll 4+ to hit, because cultists, they're not the best at shooting, but that's why you have a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I rolled 80 dice. And this was on Tabletop Simulator. By the way, we weren't playing in real life. We didn't have 80 dice. That would be insane. And I'm sure that there's some Shadowrun players out there who might be listening on an off chance who are going 80 dice, that's nothing, you little baby. Anyway, I roll, and I look at the results, and I got 60 misses.
Wow.
60
that reminds me of a story,
misses.
That reminds me of a song I remember reading in White Dwarf years ago. This was during early 3rd edition. It was during one of the grand tournaments or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
You had one guy, he had so many Khorne Berserkers, he had something 90 attack dice from charging Khorne Berserkers, and he ended up killing 3 orcs.
Wow. Okay, on orcs, that's horrendous. I've got 2 of those stories, actually. I've got 2. There was one where a full squad of 15 Kroot failed to do a single wound and then got sweeping advanced by 2 Deathcopters. In 5th, where they didn't even have the Rotorblade attack.
Oh, God.
And there was the one where I charged a full squad of 30 Orc boys into Wolfguard Terminators and scored 1 wound with 120 attacks.
On the flip side, I remember a game of Warhammer Fantasy I played where I managed to take out a vampire with a horse.
Ha!
Because it was a unit of Chaos Marauder horsemen.
Yeah.
Got charged by a vampire count on a nightmare, and all my Marauders attacks missed. But one of the horses got not only hit but managed to wound, and the vampire failed his armor save, and that was on his last wound as well.
Oh dear.
Oh, that reminds me of when I was playing Warhammer Fantasy, and I was playing Skaven versus the High Elves, and I didn't have a big understanding of the rules, so I didn't understand a few things. One of them being that when you charge a unit with lances, I believe, you double your strength on the charge.
+2, but yeah, same difference.
Yeah. So it's like these dragon
Dragon
10
Princes, I love
dragon
those.
princes. Yeah.
Oh god.
It was a unit of 10 dragon princes. And
You're
I had
fucked.
like
everything you have is fucked.
Here's the thing. I had 80 Skaven slaves because, when you play Skaven, you bring a lot of models because Skaves aren't worth jack shit.
Accurate.
Well, they're like weapon skill 2 or something.
Yeah, they suck, but they're not there to win fights. They're there to
Operation Human Shield, basically.
Yeah, they're there to be a distraction or to be really funny. So like these dragon princes charge into my slaves, and they don't do that well on their roll, thankfully. So it's like, about 14 slaves in a group die, which, for Skaven, that's fucking nothing.
Yeah, that's pocket change.
And I did not realize that elves are not a very tough race.
Yeah, they're toughness 3.
Toughness 3.
They have a toughness of 3 and a strength of 3. Here's the thing. I misunderstood the rules. I thought that these elves always just had like 5 strength on every single attack. So it's like, if I just attack these guys at melee, I'm fucked. Like, I'm boned. They're slaves, but I still need to keep them around for the purposes of distracting people. Because it's like,
And
that's
then
80 slaves.
you rolled your attack dice, and despite the
No,
heavy
here's
barding
the
and heavy
thing.
armor, they all fell over?
No, here's the thing. I didn't want to risk it. I didn't want to risk that return because I was like, well, fuck, I'm just going to get mulched even more. So I just had
You'd
them
already
like
been
tar
charged.
pinned.
Why didn't you attack? You'd been charged. You had a free attack back. You can't just
Like-
fall back in the middle of the combat phase, can you?
Well, here's the thing. I'm stupid. And anyway, so I didn't know that in just regular melee, that strength is just back to 3 because elves, again, not very robust.
Accurate.
And that is the story of how 10 dragon princes managed to sweep a lot of my army because of a simple rules misunderstanding. And this is why you read the goddamn rules and you make sure you understand the goddamn rules.
Yep.
Also, the guy was a prick and had a banner that reduced, negated damage from,
Banner of the World Dragon. I know
Magic-
exactly which one you
magic
mean.
attacks.
Yep. Yeah, I know exactly the one you mean.
Yeah, and I thought, hey, I can just have my Jezzails shoot at these guys.
Nope, magic attacks.
And I did not realize that they are just magic attacks. And the prick brought the Banner of the World Dragon. And I was like, well, balls.
Yep.
And
I wish I could say I was surprised, but yeah. Dragon Princes, Blood Knights, Dragon Princes especially, were glass nuke launchers. If they hit you, you were boned, but they could... the only thing they had in their favour is because they had heavy armour, which was a 5-up save, a barded warhorse, which I think was a +2 to their save.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And then a shield for puzzles. They had a 2-up armour save, but they were toughness 3 with a single wound. So they just fell over if you actually just poked them.
I think that's always been a thing that surprised me about just playing the tabletop game, is just reading all this lore about how, every elite person is oh, they're so cool and they're so magnificent and they can just take tons of punishment. And it's like, oh yeah, a Space Marine has a 1 wound. They'll die to you getting a good last shot in. Or an orc. It's like, oh yeah, orcs can survive getting their heads cut off and then you can sew it back on and they'll be fine. And it's like, no, 1 wound. And it's like, man, the lore really fucking lies to me all the time.
Yes.
And man, it is such a disconnect just reading about it and experiencing it through video games and books and whatnot. And then you actually play it, and it's just a completely different it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
Yep, can't argue with that, to be honest.
And I guess that's also when I learned maybe I should have taken some slingers because they can just throw a rock at you. And
Yeah, Skaven Slave slingers with stand and shoot could have probably done some quite serious damage.
Yeah, it's like there were only 10 of them, and they have a toughness of 3 with a 5-up save. Also, the fact that like the saves work different between fantasy and 40k fucked with me like a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the things that has been really nice in some ways is the consistency of rules for people like me who flick between Sigmar and 40k. I can keep track far more easily. And if you like the old system, go play Heresy, and Old World will be back. But the consistency of most of it, the only thing that's inconsistent, and it really bugs me because it's hard to understand when you're teaching it, is the way damage calculation works. So this is going to get a little bit numbersy, so bear with me. So let's say for a second, you have a squad of intercessors and they get hit by a damage D6 attack. Let's say a las cannon or a melter gun. And they roll a 6 for the damage. So in 40k, one Space Marine dies having suffered 6 wounds. In Age of Sigmar, that scenario plays out very differently. If you have 5 Stormcast and they get hit by 6 damage worth of wounds, 3 of them die because the wounds overspill. So a damage 8 attack that exists in 40k can only kill 1 model at a time, but per attack. Whereas a damage 8 weapon will usually kill 4 or 5 models per swing, and will usually have bucket loads of attacks, which is why you see AOS weapons generally having a highest output damage of 6, whereas some 40k weapons have got like D6 plus 6 damage because they can't overkill an entire squad in one shot. And it's an inconsistency in the ruling of how the wounds work. And it's the only thing really that really confused me as to why are these rules not consistent. Like, it's odd.
Oh, yeah, and to answer your question as to the strike back thing, I did strike back. I only killed one of them.
Ah, right, that makes more sense.
Because, again, bad dice luck is the theme of my tabletop experience.
Sounds like it, sadly, yes.
Yeah.
So I imagine you're like hitting on what, 5s? Because like weapon skill 2 versus weapon skill 5 or whatever, wasn't it? So
yeah, and it's like, you know,
Dragon Prince.
it's like I can't fucking. It was ridiculous. It was a sweep, and it was it made me hate high elves so much, and I get why people get angry about elves.
This is where whenever you played Skaven, like you make the biggest unit of clan rats possible, and you give them the dread banner, so they automatically cause fear. So if you beat them in combat, you automatically have them flee.
I was trying to be.
That's not how fear works.
But no, if you're outnumbered by a fear-causing opponent that you lose combat to, you automatically flee.
That was not a rule by 8th edition.
It was in 7th. It was in 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Yeah, in 8th, fear was pretty rubbish, as I recall. I can't recall exactly, but I don't think it was you auto-flee if you lose to a fear unit.
Only if you're outnumbered by a fear, you use it. If you lose to a fear unit that outnumbers you, you automatically fled.
Right. I think fear was just a -1 leadership as a leadership penalty, and then terror, you had the chance to run away when they charged you by 8th edition.
Yeah, fear. God, that's just a -1. God damn. -1.
Yeah, that does sound like shit.
It's like I guess that would I guess if like you bring fear against Skaven, who already have like, well, no, because even like Skaven can get fucking like massive leadership if you just bring a lot of them, and you know,
strength in numbers. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, +1 leadership per rank up until a maximum of like 8, isn't it?
Unless you are charged in the flank or rear, in which case that rank bonus goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And fucking just. Oh, right. I think the thing that really like fucked with me about that game, which it was fun, but we were like doing a narrative campaign, or trying to do a narrative campaign anyway, and I just got fucking stomped because of just not understanding things, and also fucking elves. I had a warp lightning cannon, and I thought like, okay, this is a warp lightning cannon. I can shoot it at these dragon no. Magic. It's like, great. You're immune to my artillery and to my snipers. I also had a rattling gun team, but they didn't do much because, as it turns out, rattling guns fun in concept, not that good in practice.
Did you have a warp fire thrower?
No, because I was like, I wanted to bring guns, and I think that rattling guns are very funny. They're really good in fucking
No Globideers?
No Globadiers, because it was not a very large point game, and I couldn't bring like a lot of the toys. I could bring like a team of Jezzails, my Greyseer, a warlord, and a rat ogre, because I wanted to be funny and have him beat up elves on a rat ogre. Like a squad of storm vermin, a unit of clan rats, and then 2 units of slaves. Because I wanted to be like, well, these Skaven aren't fucking like doing anything important. They're just like going out and doing a patrol or gonna go raid some fucking shit. So they brought chaff mostly. And I thought the chaff would be enough just because I thought I could like overwhelm the fact that you can't bring a lot of people as the high elves.
No, you can't, but they can usually kill 4 to 1 because they have always strikes first and loads of AP weapons.
Yeah, I learned about always strikes first, and it was nasty.
Yeah, I remember having some bad experiences going up against a unit of white lions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I had a unit of those, and I had Phoenix Guard, and I had Dragon Princes. So yeah, I didn't get to play that many games with my elves at full power, but I must have been a horrible person to fight.
Christ.
Did you have sword masters as well?
Yep, because they're in the Island of Blood box.
Christ. Yeah, my opponent brought like a unit of spearmen, a mage, and 10 dragon princes, and those dragon princes fucking kicked my ass.
Yeah, it's
as
fun.
dragon princes tend to do.
Yeah, it's kind of funny in hindsight now, looking back at the old High Elves and then looking over at the Lumineth, because the Lumineth are the High Elf spiritual successors in Age of Sigmar, and they've carried so much over and yet changed it all up. So their spearmen are now pikemen. The Dragon Princes are gone. They've got the Silver Helms rebranded.
Are those the ones who ride kangaroos?
They are more like the Illyrian Reavers, yes, because they're archers. Right. They're fast cav. You've got sort of a Swordmaster successor in the Blade Lords, who are hilarious. I love the Blade Lords. You've got a repeater bolt thrower. And what they've got, instead of just having flat always strikes first, is you get to pick 2 units to fight in a row. Instead of it going you go, I go, it's you go, I go, I go, you go, I go, I go. Because that's to reflect their always strikes first lightning reflexes kind of ability.
And they have giant cows.
And they have giant mountain cows, yes. But they're just an army that really... They're my display army. I've not played a game with my Lumineth, and I really want to get a chance if I can. But all my colleagues that I know are pretty much diehard 40k, so I've got no one to play my Lumineth against unless I make a point of like taking them if I ever get time to go to Warhammer World or something. So it's just whatever.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I think I've held up the talks enough by bringing up horrible dice luck stories. So shall we continue?
No, it's fine.
On?
That was a fun sidetrack.
Yeah, the moral of the story, kids: learn the rules, comprehend the rules. Don't let dragon princes charge you.
Sorry to briefly go back onto this tangent regarding dice. Did you see the thing about Games Workshop's magnetic dice?
No.
Basically, there was footage from one of the Warhammer Plus battle reports, and they were literally using loaded dice.
What?
Yeah. Leaky, he actually got the footage of it on Twitter. Hang on 1 second, I'll try and bring it up.
Now, when you say magnetic dice, you mean like this is a new product that's being sold, or do you mean someone has decided to engage in what we call tactical fuckery?
Cheating.
Tactical fuckery. Because it was mainly, to make it look like, the dice rolled this way specifically. I'm trying to find the thing it was on his, it was on their Twitter. Yeah, talk about something else while I look for it.
Okay, well, the piece of news I was going next was actually the Black Library Book of the Year contest, because we learned who the winners were for the best books as voted by us. And it's actually, to be honest, it's a list I have very little reason to argue with, for once. Because normally I make a big issue of having a rant because Chaos wins every single year and AOS models get screwed over. But
Found it. Sorry to interrupt. But yeah, you watch the footage and you can see the way the dice. Yeah.
Oh wow,
That's not even subtle.
that is horrendous.
That's awesome. Just fucking like, we need this specific dice result.
Yeah.
Put magnets in.
Pretty much. How else are you going to advertise your products to buy, aren't you? You need to make sure they look as good as possible.
You know what you do? You fucking have a guy. You have a guy who I'm going to call Dice Intern. And you just have them roll over and over, and you record, and then you fucking have the footage that you need when you get the result you want, and then you splice that in. You don't need to have these magnetic dice.
Yeah, it's blatant cheating.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's horrendous.
Oh, that's amazing.
The duality of man. That's awesome. That's horrendous.
Yeah.
No, awesome does not always mean good. It just means
I know, but it's funny for the duality of man
awe-inspiring. And this is awe-inspiring, blatant fucking like... I mean, it's like a fucking promotion, so it's like, who gives a shit? It's like, if this was an actual game that was being shown off, I would be like, what the fuck are you doing?
No, but people pay money for Warhammer Plus. They pay money for these battle reports to watch them.
Well... You know,
I'll post a link to Leaky Cheese's Twitter post regarding this in the video description for those wondering.
Well, you know what, Tactica, you have a good point there. And my only counterpoint is that people have the freedom to make stupid decisions.
Like buy Warhammer Plus.
That's the joke. That's the punchline.
Indeed. Right, now things that are actually good. Shall we count down the top 10 books according to the fans of last year?
Oh, boy.
Oh, we might as well, mightn't we?
Number 10, the Huron Blackheart book.
Uh-huh.
Was a good book. I've read it.
Number 9, the Gaunt's Ghost book.
Not read it.
Number 8, Soul Slayer. Good book. Number 7, the Sanguinius novel.
We've already said our thoughts on this. It's
we've done that one.
A good Horus Heresy book, a shit Primarch book.
Number 6, the Mortarian book.
It's worse than the Sanguinius book. It should not be that bloody high. I'm sorry. It's not bad, but it's not top 10 of the year. I'm sorry, and it's not better than the Sanguinius book by any stretch. It's better in the fact that it's actually about the fucking Primarch, but it's not as an actual objectively as a story. It's not as good as the Sanguinius one. Sorry.
Indeed. Number 5. Mortarion getting murdered in Garrow Knight of Grey.
Yeah, Garrow was pretty good. It was definitely better than the Mortarion novel. I wouldn't necessarily put it up this high,
no,
personally, but still good, though.
Number 4, Sigismund.
No, I wouldn't put it this high at all.
Sorry.
I'd rank it below the Huron book, personally.
Yeah, because you were very complimentary of the Huron book, and I'm a big fan of Soul Slayer. However, I have no argument about number 3, Assassinorum Kingmaker. This book slaps. Like, I really, really enjoyed Assassinorum Kingmaker. We reviewed it about a dozen podcasts ago. It is brilliant. Well worth a read. Number 2, the Gazcore book.
That's the one I voted for.
So yeah, Nick Crowley.
So you know what my thoughts were then.
And number 1, shocking nobody, Echoes of Eternity.
Yeah, I can't really complain too much about that one. It was a good book. It was a really good book. I personally would have put Gazgore in front myself. That's why I voted for it. But yeah, objectively, I can't complain about this one. It was a good book.
I think I voted for Kingmaker off the top of my head. I think I voted for Kingmaker. So
basically, we can all agree that the top 3 was, pretty spot on.
To be fair, most of the top 10, like Huron's good, Soul Slayer's good, Garrow's good, Sanguinius is good, not at what it's meant to be though. Gaunt's Ghost was always going to be in the top 10 because it's Gaunt's Ghosts. So I think it's a decent list for once. Well done, Warhammer fans. You have some taste.
The keyword being some. Hey.
Yes.
So I had to make the joke.
Yes, but things that don't have taste are robots, because we got some new killbots for Necromunda, and they look fucking terrifying.
Oh, the Lortomata.
Yes, the Sanctioner Pattern Automaton. This thing is the most brutal thing not seen in BioShock. Jesus Christ, it's got a mashing spike plate for a hand.
That looks like an amble from fucking Necromunda.
It's an Ambot.
Well, it's for Necromunda, but it's not an Ambot.
So it's similar to the Ambot. I'm assuming the Ambot was designed off of this pattern. Or vice versa.
I think it's vice versa. I think that...
I'm not sure, because they're not that similar in my personal opinion. Just the fact that
I think that
they're bipedal.
I'll have to fucking get...
Because the Ambot is a lot bulkier.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Well, as we are in the field of Warhammer Academia, I will need to back up my thesis with proof of concept. And yeah, hey, you did it for me. I think that they look pretty similar in regards to each other. I mean, like, it's fucking 40K, so if somebody is making a variety of robot, they're gonna look more or less the same. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't even like saying that like disparagingly. I was like, that looks like an amble. Because I've been playing a lot of Necromunda lately, and that design is stuck into my head.
Yeah. So, the lore of these things is fucking terrifying. They are a fleet of semi-sentient servo-automata piloted by the psycho-conditioned, transplanted brains of especially fanatical enforcers. What the fuck?
So basically, they're literally RoboCop.
Yeah, that's how the Ambots work too. Like there's a fucking species of xena creature.
An Amble's brain and nervous system implanted into it.
Yeah, and then they put it into a robot, and then they use it for mining. But it's also handy for beating people to death.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, remember that the Imperium tends to use biological components for their robots because
because they think AI is
outlawed.
They think that AI is spooky, and they're just like, well, if we put a brain in there, then it's fine. No one said it had to be a human brain.
Indeed. So yeah, they're actually pretty cool. Though I think Necromunda got a cooler model this week, personally. The Ashwood Stranger, which is a new sort of bounty hunter type specialist who you can take as an outcast or bounty hunter.
Oh, neat.
Do you know what this reminds me of? The pose. It reminds me a lot of the Kelemorph.
Yes, I do see that.
I was about to say that. Just like I couldn't remember the name though, but it's like, yeah, that's just a Kelemorph without a third arm.
Then the third arm says hidden inside that tube on his belly.
That's a fucked up third arm, but I don't know. I guess if you're a Gene Sealer hybrid, there's worse ways that your limbs could end up.
I mean, all we need now is a Mexican standoff between these two.
Who will win? Well, the one with the higher ballistic skill, and technically the Kelemorph can shoot like what? If you roll good enough, like 18 times or something.
Something like that.
It's like that man has a stub revolver that looks like it has been cobbled together from hopes and dreams, and a submachine gun, and auto pistol, fucking whatever. And this thing has 3 stub revolvers, so it's just that. Shut up, me.
Either way,
shut up, me.
Either way, it's a cool mini. I can see a lot of I say there's a lot about Necromunda and Warcry. I feel like a lot of people who don't play conventional Warhammer and use Warhammer miniatures for other purposes. Like, if you're playing like a post-apocalypse role-playing game and you need a miniature to represent your character, brilliant. If you're playing like something steampunky, brilliant.
Yeah.
It's got real applications outside the worlds of Warhammer more so than anything else.
I kind of like Necromunda more than mainline 40K, but that's just because the stakes are so low and petty that it feels more involved.
Plus, I can get away with doing a lot more wackier shit.
Yeah, it's like how Tacitus said. It's like, hey, if you need some guys in a post-apocalyptic game, Goliath and Escher have you covered. If you need guys for Cyberpunk, fucking Orlok or fucking Deverone, maybe.
That's all.
And say hi to the Ash Nomads who ride around on fucking giant bugs.
That one's more of a weird kind of high fantasy fucking post-apocalypse. But yeah, that could also work.
More Nausicaa.
And then you've got Cawdor with their weird cult aesthetic and all that. There's loads of stuff in Necromunda. And Warcry is great for it too, the AOS game.
Yeah.
And you got Delac with all their trench coats and goggles.
Get some Helot Chaos cultists if you're feeling really esoteric. And if you want to be baseline, if you're playing Fallout and you just need some of those dumbass raiders from 3 or some fiends from New Vegas, hey, you have the Meat Grinder cult.
Yep, corpse
Or you can
grinders.
go for the Ironhead squats.
Or squats. Don't know what you...
Because squats are awesome.
Yes. Speaking of high fantasy, Age of Sigmar also got an extra model this week for the Seraphon, which is the Lizardmen, for those of you who don't speak Age of Sigmar. The Skink Starseer, basically the skink equivalent of a Slann.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a bunch of people saying how it looks like he's sitting on the toilet.
I mean, that's just what you look like when you sit on a throne like that. I mean, the Slann also look like
he's literally looking at his mobile phone. While he's on
Look, the Slann were passed out on their toilets after eating, after going to the all-you-can-eat Shoney's or whatever. And that skink is just looking at the stars, He's got a promotion. He's got to keep an eye on the. He's got to keep an eye on the constellations.
If all the Slann are on the toilets, does that mean that Lord Croak is Elvis because he literally died in the toilet?
Well, I mean,
oh, fuck you.
Well, I mean, he did end up getting abducted by aliens, technically. So
he's the aliens who did the abducting.
It all comes back together. The king is back, baby, and he's a frog.
But did he eat peanut butter, jelly, banana, and bacon sandwiches?
I don't know if I don't know. Is bacon a part of the Great Plan?
It might be. Bacon's great.
It could be, but remember, lizard men are assholes. And if you're for all we know,
Warhammer, everyone's an asshole.
Yeah, but the lizardmen are fucking weird robot lizard assholes who are just if you're not in this if you're not in subsection A, paragraph 2 of the Great Plan, we're going to fucking send you to the own zone and use you as fertilizer. And you know what? Maybe bacon is a part of that. Maybe there is hey, bacon clogs up your arteries clogging is going to empower Nurgle, therefore we have to get rid of the bacon, You gotta think like a weird frog person. And I can do that, because I'm a freak.
Your words.
I'm not gonna deny it. Who the fuck you think I am?
Main character from Hell Comes to Frogtown?
What the fuck is that?
You not seen that film, Hell Comes to Frogtown?
No. No, I cannot say that I have.
It was a film starring Roddy Piper. Him in post-apocalyptic world where there's literally giant humanoid frogs.
It always comes back to Rowdy Rod Piper. I thought I was...
And it was 1980, so...
I thought that we were done with him from his magnum opus, Saints Row 4, as the character from We Live. Oh, okay, that's real. Remleiz is not playing a trick on me.
No, it's a real film.
Does it suck?
It's one of those films that, because it sucks so much, it's actually great.
Oh, okay. So it's
a film that goes beyond the Omega point, so to speak.
The fucking Omega. Okay. That's good. I like that term. Okay. Anyway, I guess that's enough of dead wrestlers. So let's get back to the skink.
Dead planet, shall we? Because we have we could talk more about the skink. There's not a lot really to say. You've
I
summed
like
it
the
up
fact
really
he's
well.
got a promotion. I like the fact that now he's he's a weird skink equivalent to a slan, because I had to imagine they're not that common anymore on account of the fact that a lot of them got eaten by rats.
Yeah, they've bred them all again in breeding pools in the big starships, because the Seraphon live in space.
Wait, I thought that the whole point of that was that the breeding pools didn't
work
anymore, and the lizardmen that you had were the lizardmen you got.
It works now for reasons.
I don't know. I'm not up on Seraphon lore. As I understand it, they can still spawn new Seraphon.
Okay, that's fine, because apparently Skaven are also demons now, which, I don't know. Age of Sigmar is weird. I'll have to try it out sometime.
The Vermin Lord is still a demon.
Well, yeah, I know the Vermin Lord is still a demon, but aren't like the Skaven as a whole like quasi-demonic now because of Skaven Blight being transposed into the warp and they can just kind of burrow wherever they want?
I think it's just more a case that they've just gone full-blown major chaos faction now rather than ancillary.
Yeah, like, they've not quite gone Horn Rat Chaos God confirmed, but they have upgraded...
I thought the Horn Rat was a major chaos god now.
Yeah, the Horned Rat is now the Great
He took
Horned
Slash's
Rat.
place in the Pantheon, didn't he?
Yeah.
Tried. The other gods were having absolutely fucking none of it.
Oh, they retconned that today, because I know in like first edition's Age of Sigmar, the Great Horned Rat was part of the Chaos Pantheon. Then and then he tried to give his blessing to Archaon, and Archaon said, "Fuck off."
Yeah, it's because Archaon's a fucking moron.
Well, Archaon is basically just Abaddon because he
I'd
doesn't
say
want the power of
Archaon
the
is a
gods.
more look. If you told me like back in 2003, let's say, and let's hypothetical that 11-year-old Fresh knows what Warhammer even is. If you told me that at some point I would think Abaddon is more cool than Archaon, I would have punched you in the mouth. But now that's the case, and I hate it because now Archaon just kind of a fucking huge dumbass who never seems to really like lose in any meaningful way and is always just one step ahead of everybody. And it's boring. Archaon bores me now with his dumb glitter glue helmet.
So basically, he's like the Xanatos of the setting.
Yeah. Well, no. Xanatos at least had like setbacks and whatnot, and he had like, convolute his way
Xanatos,
into
even
like a thing and like actually suffered like consequences for his actions. But Archaon is just like,
yeah, but the thing is with Xanatos though, even when he lost, he still managed to progress part of his plan, so he still won by losing in a sense.
Hello, Abaddon and the Black Crusade say hi. If we're talking about win by losing, hello, Abaddon.
maybe the real problem is that a lot of the major Chaos characters just kind of suck.
The problem is that Chaos
maybe
is
the
not
writers
allowed
watched
to
too
win.
much Gargoyles in a day. I don't know.
Chaos can't win. That's the problem. Because if Chaos wins, the universe ends. So they have to always lose without losing to not look like a little bitch. So,
Well, they won during the end times.
Yeah, and look how everyone loved that decision.
and the universe ended. They had to reboot it.
And also, no one liked the End Times. Even I don't like the fucking End Times, and I actually like the Warriors of Chaos as a faction. Because there's only so much horse shit that can happen before you're like, okay, this is stupid.
Wasn't it like a worldwide Warhammer Fantasy campaign where like the intention was to have Chaos win, but then they ended up getting completely curb stomped by Grimgor Ironhide or something?
Okay, so that's Storm of Chaos, and it was basically the equivalent. It was basically the equivalent of the old 13th Black Crusade, where it was like, it was like a worldwide tournament. People sent in their results, and they did try to have Chaos win because I believe that Warriors of Chaos and Chaos Demons had just gotten like a new codex, and they got like a buff, and their units were fucking like swole, even by comparison of how they could usually be. But problem is, a lot of new people bought these armies, but didn't know how to use them properly. But meanwhile, you had the people with the other factions who had like their mainstays, and they weren't like as fucking boulder punching strong as, Chaos, but like they had skill and experience and could like, use their armies properly. So basically, Chaos kept losing a lot. Like a fucking lot. Like if Storm of Chaos had been like something that GW wanted to be completely community driven, they would not have gotten past Kislev because that's how badly they lost. But
wow,
GW wanted Chaos to pull off victories. So they basically ignored a lot of those contest results and basically said that Archaon kept pushing his way deeper into the Empire until he was stopped at Middenheim after beating the fuck out of... After him and Volton had their big dumb duel, and then Grimgor came out of nowhere, kicked Archaon in the dick, and then went, Grimgor's the best, and then fucked off. Without actually killing Archaon. Grimgor also sucks, but that's just because he's boring.
He's an orc.
Yeah.
But, okay, look, I know that orc characters...
In this house, we stand Morglum Neck Slapper. Neck Snapper, rather. Neck Slapper.
Neck
Yeah,
Slapper. That's gonna be... That should be... If I ever play an orc army, I should make that my war boss. Like, Morglum Neck Slapper.
Morglum Neck Snapper. It's a tongue twister. But yeah, we stand him.
But yeah, Grimgor fucking kicked Archeon in the dick from behind when Grimgor is the best. And then instead of doing the orc thing and, like, you know, cutting off Archeon's head and using him as a fancy hat or something, he just fucked off with his wah. And then Archeon had to basically be dragged back. And that's how Warhammer Fantasy was until End Times was like, hey, the Storm of Chaos happened, Chaos almost won, shit's on fire.
Oh, that reminds me. Wasn't there some weird thing in fantasy where Archaon's actually Bellacor's son or something like that?
That's one of the more recent.
Heard that.
Okay, that is one of the more recent retcons to the lore, because originally what it was that Archeon was born from a Imperial woman that was went to the no-no zone with a Norskin marauder.
Yeah, let's be careful with the wordage used for monetization purposes.
Yeah, basically Archeon got no-no'd into existence by a Norskin being a Norskin to an Imperial woman, and he was like a bastard. Because of that, he got given birth to, he joined an Imperial Knightly Order, he was like a warrior priest, I think. And he was like really dedicated, and then he found out through shenanigans that like he was destined to become the Ever-Chosen of Chaos, and when he prayed to Sigmar for like any kind of sign that this is a lie, nothing happened, because, you know, if you praying to Sigmar doesn't work out a lot for anything. And he was like, well, okay, I guess I'm the Ever-Chosen of Chaos now. And then I believe they retconned that into like Be'lakor possessed the Norskin lord that did that, and then did the wazoo.
And then, yeah.
So by technicality, by that retcon, Be'lakor would be Archeon's father. I don't think they've actually done anything with it. Besides, I think that maybe it was like one of Bellacor's plans of like getting his body back, of like, hey, I'll make a kid and then possess them at some point.
So
because we do know that Be'lakor has children, and they're the Dark Souls.
I thought you were going to say Darkstalkers for a second. I had that theme for it.
Yeah, Dimitri is Be'lakor's kid. So is Jean Talmain. So is Morrigan.
God. No, the way Be'lakor and Archeon stand today is basically they are the main two factions in Chaos Undivided, both trying to usurp the gods and become the major player in all of Chaos. Archeon conquering the realms, Be'lakor trying to undermine him with his own armies, which is why they've got the Stormcast Infernal now, with the guy who keeps coming back. So, yeah, they hate each other. Be'lakor particularly hates Archeon for undermining and usurping him as the big boss of Chaos Undivided, but there's no relation that the two of them, are related.
Does Be'lakor have his body back, or is he still under that geese of like?
No, he's a demon. He's walking around. He's kicking ass,
so he's no longer just eternally a Shadow Man.
No. He created his most, I don't know what's done in the newest book of Slaves to Darkness, but in the run-up to AOS 3, he created, I've forgotten its name. I'm just going to call it the Ruin Storm, even though I know that's wrong. Oh, Cursed Skies, that was what it was called. The Cursed Skies that mean the Stormcast can't get back to Azir when they die.
That's a problem.
It was, and then Grundy came along and made better Stormcast.
Thanks, Dwarven Ancestor God. I thought you were dead.
So did the dwarves, and they fucking hate him.
They hate Grundy? Why?
Because he abandoned them when Chaos turned up. Because he was there in the Realm of Metal in Shamon, and when Chaos turned up, he just fucked off.
You know, that seems like a plot hole for the dwarves, considering how stupidly dedicated to tradition they are.
Yeah, but I'm mainly talking. I don't know about the Dispossessed because they get forgotten mostly in the lore, but I think they're called the Dispossessed partly because of their anger at everything. And the Caradron basically said, well, Grundy won't look after us, we need to look after ourselves, hence the Caradron Code. And they are bent to the Caradron Code, they never budge from it. But, well, they do, they're merchants, they're always looking for fucking loopholes. But
So
they've replaced Grungni with their own code, essentially the Caradron, and the Fire Slayers. Well, their god killed himself.
yeah, I know that Grimnir sent himself into the Own Zone, and now Gotrek is back, which is a nice surprise, I guess. I kind of wish that we'd make new characters to be cool, but I don't know, people.
They have, to be fair. But
I know,
Sigma.
but it's just like, man, we don't have to keep bringing old characters back. We can make new characters to do new things and be cool. We could get some new blood. But that is just me. And probably a few other people, in fairness.
Give us a new Gracia Thankor model, because he is still alive.
He is still alive, and he's not happy that Gotrek is back.
No. But if you do want new characters running around, then you might be interested in the fact that they gave us a new guard character the other day, who is a post-cracking of Cadia Cadian, Minka Lesk.
Oh, it's the last White Shield, I think she's
Indeed.
called.
Yes. A survivor of Cadia, who was a White Shield at the time of Cadia's fall, has got 3 novels behind her now. Cadia Stands, Cadian Honor, Traitor Rock, and is getting another one called Shadow of the Eighth. So, if you're wanting new characters, here's one.
Well, hey, good. Good that we're getting some new blood. Hey, speaking of women in Warhammer, have they done anything with Valaya?
Who?
And that answers my question.
Yeah, sorry. There is a thing regarding women Warhammer in The End and the Death. I ran across a spoiler article, and I'm not going to spoil it because I know Remleiz is reading it at the minute and he might not have got that far. But I will leave that unsaid, and if Rem wants to know, I'll message him later.
But yeah.
Is it regarding Acte?
No, it's regarding the Emperor.
Right, okay. But I haven't got that far yet then.
No, fair enough.
Love the Emperor. Love the Emperor.
Quite. So, yeah, there's also new Despoiler squads, and they've done the Vindicator for 30k now, except you can take it with a fucking neutron cannon. So, fun.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
And also, by the way, there is, this is a bit sad, but I'm going to make it as a PSA, there is currently a sprue and paint recycling scheme being launched by Games Workshop at selected Warhammer stores across the UK, including Belfast, Birmingham, Ipswich, Glasgow, Manchester, Nottingham, Oxford, Sheffield, Warhammer World. Basically, just allow you to recycle your old sprues and used up paint pots. Apparently, GW wasn't doing enough recycling, so they decided to do that.
And then you've got the orc player saying, "Oh, we already recycle our sprues."
Yeah, there'll be many who do.
When you said the word scheme, I thought you meant like GW was going to scam you out of your recycling somehow.
No, they're going to let you recycle
with magnetic dice.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Excuse me.
You alright?
Yeah, just needed a stretch.
Ah, fair enough.
I think we could all use a good stretch now and again. Don't take that out of context. Or do, I don't care.
Right,
moving onwards.
Hey, on that note, let's talk about Slaanesh.
We did earlier. We talked about the new model, didn't we?
Was that it? God damn, Slaanesh doesn't get
Well,
shit.
there's a new start. Well, they're getting a new book and a new army box as well, and it's a good army box, to be fair, because it's got archers, Slangor, and the cavalry, and Rita Repulsor as well, so it's a good box.
You know what? Fair enough. Slaanesh is finally getting things.
Speaking of Rita Repulsor, 30th anniversary of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers this year, and there's going to be a special on Netflix. I'm looking forward to that.
I know, I heard.
I'm unabashedly looking forward to that, because I grew up with that as a kid, so I was like, I am excited.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I was a Dino Thunder kid. That's when I was growing up.
Speaking of fucking...
You're more of a Kamen Rider fan, aren't you, Fresh?
No. You see, when I was a child, I would watch fucking Power Rangers all the time. I didn't know what the fuck was going on, but I saw that people were fighting, and it was great. Recently, and by recently I mean like for the past few years, whenever we want to sit down and do it, me and Nost have been sitting down and we've been actually watching Mighty Morphin to see how it is. And
How it holds up.
and to see how it is with our now adult sensibilities. And
90s
that show is dog shit and insane, and it's great. Like, man,
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I think that it's great that like we have a fucking like a game now where it's like, okay, we need to have a game whenever we see like a patchwork job done to one of the suits, because Zyuranger, the series Mighty Morphin got a lot of its first and second season footage from.
Yep, the Sentai.
That was from like 88, I believe, 88, 89. And so,
They're still recording on film rather than tape.
Yeah, still record on film. And we have a little game where we see if there's any like patchwork that's been done to the suits, because they'd been in storage for a bit. And for the most part, the monsters.
Did you ever play the game? Did you ever play the game where you looked for the Ju 2 footage, where they actually got the original Sentai team to record new footage? For
and
it?
holy God, it's bad. Ju 2 is dog shit by the standards of Power Rangers. It's fucking bad. But no, my three favorite things. One is seeing what episodes are just blatantly out of order from Zyuranger's original filming, which I haven't seen Zyuranger, but I know that like the big floating head that Rita Repulsa one time sends at like the Rangers, and it's like a big fucking scary monster face. Yeah, that was the final boss of Zyuranger, and that was like a mid-season 1 enemy. So, like,
Funny enough,
yeah,
he actually got referenced in the newest season of Dino Fury, because his nephew actually appeared as a monster.
That's stupid.
along with the return of Lord Zed.
Isn't Lord... that's stupid. Anyway.
He was resurrected and appeared in about 3 episodes of Dino Fury.
And then I bet he fucked off.
He got imprisoned by the Morphing Masters.
What the fuck? Okay, anyway, second part that I just love is seeing what, like, the fact that Angel Grove is this weird nothing town, because it's just like a park set, a school set, and a juice bar set.
A juice bar.
And that's all the footage you're getting of that fucking place. And then, like, they transition to Zyuranger footage. It's like, oh, that's Tokyo Tower right there.
Yeah.
And that's, like, Japanese Disneyland right there in a few episodes. And just spying all of, like, the fucking, like, hey, the signs have changed from, like, English to Japanese, which you don't notice when you're a kid because you're stupid. And third favorite thing is noticing the difference in the footage between the Green Ranger outfit.
Because in the Japanese footage, he's got the rubber shield, but in the American footage, he's got the cloth shield.
Yeah, in America, it's like, oh my... I never noticed it was just a cloth mantle, because I guess they, like, lost or damaged the plastic mantle from Zyuranger.
Yeah, I think they said the rubber one was actually damaged, so they had to use a cloth
and
one.
It's so fucking funny to see.
Noticeable, yeah.
And also when they switch from Zyuranger to the ninja
Ranger. Kakuranger was
the ninja one, and they have Ninja appear, and I fucking hate Ninja so fucking
That's
much.
a good impression, actually.
I know. I hate the fact that I'm pretty good at impersonating Ninja, and you need the ninja power in order to defeat Zed and Rita. Ooh, I'm going to skip over here like this with my little prance.
And then disappear one day and never get mentioned again.
And I think that we were all happier for it. And we're in a bit of a slump right now because there's only so much of that show that we can handle, because it is just a lot. The pacing on that show is insane. No wonder I loved it as a kid. You don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. Plus, Bulk and Skull.
Oh god, I fucking remember when Bulk and Skull became bastards and then they decided, hey, we want to become cops. That's a career.
Amazed that
It's a career choice that's aged well.
They kept reappearing in pretty much every single Blaze series up until like Samurai.
Was it Samurai or was it like I thought the like Bulk and Skull
Samurai had Bulk and Skull's nephew, but Skull actually appeared in like the last episode of Samurai.
Christ.
Yeah.
But no. And now I think we're like a season before they get turned into kids temporarily for some reason, because that was just a popular plot point in the 90s.
That's the Alien Ranger series.
Yeah, that's when they.
Oh, yeah.
That's when the Alien Rangers. We are currently in the season where they replaced the Black Ranger and the Yellow Ranger because they were tired of not getting paid that well, and also the racism. And the Red Ranger also left.
Okay.
But he came back during Zeo.
Hot takes o'clock. The 2018 CGI Power Rangers film.
Oh god, that was terrible. What was that? The one Bryan Cranston as Zordon?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that was so bad.
I don't know what you're talking about. Walter White as Zordon is a great casting choice.
That was the only good thing about it, because it was trying so hard to be like grim, dark, edgy Power Rangers, like Trini's a drug addict kind of thing, type of bullshit or whatever, and like everything's just meant to be. It's just so full of product placement as well. Like, here's Rita Repulsa eating a fucking Krispy Kreme donut.
Not in fairness to that, but that's nothing to me. Product placement is fucking nothing. That's just a thing you're gonna see, and it's always obnoxious and it's always really blatant. But I can't.
No, it was blatant even by the standard of modern films. It was really blatant. Like the hidden Zeo crystal. It's under Krispy Kreme. We need to go to Krispy Kreme right now to Krispy Kreme. I was like, just shut up, kind of thing.
Man.
And Rita
thanks,
literally
Angry Joe.
And Rita literally killing people just so she can take their gold fillers.
In fairness, I think that Rita, in Mighty Morphin, they sometimes killed people, I think, maybe. I don't know, maybe not. They probably should. Look, Mighty Morphin's stupid. It's in a strange place because, yes...
It's why we love it, because it's stupid.
Because from Mighty Morphin to Jungle Fury, I think was... Not Jungle Fury, the one... The series where... Wild Force. The one where the Red Ranger got arrested for killing a guy with a katana. That's how I remember the Red Ranger from that series, is he killed...
Oh, yeah, you got charged for manslaughter.
Yeah, he killed a guy with a katana, and that's how I remember that series. And that's when I stopped watching Power Rangers, because at that point I was like, this is kind of...
That was also the last series they actually filmed it in America before moving to New Zealand.
Well, because Disney took it over with Ninja Storm, and then I started watching with Dino Thunder and SPD, and then... sort of dropped it. I'd still actually have the Game Boy games of Dino Thunder and SPD knocking around here in my house somewhere. Then they ran it with Disney for a while, and then Disney bunned it off after the car one. Or whatever.
Which car one?
RPM, I think. And then I think it passed over to somebody else for Samurai.
Saban got it back.
Yeah, and then they bunned it off for fucking Hasbro.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're actually doing a Power Rangers mini podcast inside this Warhammer podcast. We should probably stop.
Yes, we should go back to the 4K stuff.
Oh, that's fucking atrocious.
You tried. You tried.
I tried.
You tried.
I get a star for trying.
Yeah.
There you go.
Although I think it will always be really funny that Dan Southworth's first real big breakout role was on a Power Rangers show as the Quantum Ranger. Yeah, Virgil from Devil May Cry, by the way. If you don't know who's Dan Southworth.
And Bryan Cranston as well, because he actually appeared in Mighty Morphin voicing some of the monsters. But anyway.
And also Johnny Young Bosch in Mighty Morphin was how he got. Yeah, fine, we're talking about anything else besides fucking Power Rangers. Now we're going to talk about Avataro Sentai.
Ram, talk over him, or we're going to lose the whole show.
Avataro Sentai Dawn Brothers. Okay.
That's the one with Shadow the Hedgehog as a Power Ranger.
Oh god, here we go.
Anyway, ignoring that. Anyway, yes, as Tactica mentioned earlier, I am currently reading through The End and the Death. I'm about just under a third of the way through so far, and I'll be honest, it's mostly fucking padding, it feels like.
So if you don't want to talk about it, then we can wait.
I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about something else, though.
Okay.
I'll talk about End and the Death next episode with I should have it a good chunk of it done by then.
Yeah.
So instead, I'm going to be talking about a book from the Warhammer horror series because we haven't heard much from that as of late, beyond the Age of Sigmar one. But anyway,
God, the last time we actually did a review, I swear, was when Alpha Buser was on the show, ages ago. Did the Watcher in the Water with him.
I also did the Oubliette as well,
Yes.
which ended up being like a rip-off of Helsing. But anyway, yes, I read through the book The Bookkeeper's Skull.
Yes, I remember that name.
Yes. No spoiler warning because that book's been out a while now. And I'll be honest, I don't think too many people read the Warhammer horror books, so I don't really care anyway. But anyway, we open up with one of the most horrifying things in all of 40k. Clown servitor. As in a servitor that's a clown. That's kept in a child's bedroom as a toy.
Sounds about right.
God.
Even by 40k standards, that's kind of messed up.
I think that sounds par for the course.
Yeah, but we actually have confirmation of that kind of thing happening. But we open up with the clown servitor. He's upset and crying because his owner, a guy called Rudiger, who henceforth I shall be referring to as Rudy for, speed purposes. Rudy's basically been summoned by his father, who is the Lord High Enforcer of this agri-world, to go into the city so he can start, doing his duties as an enforcer. And before he leaves, he sees his mother, who's some, noble woman who doesn't really give two shits about anyone. She's like one of those, hoity-toities, like you look just like your father, and he's an ugly bastard kind of thing. She gives Rudy a gift for basically going off to do the enforcer work, which is a master-crafted auto pistol and a case of man-stopper bullets. Or both of which have been blessed by the local cardinal. So they're holy weapons. Keep that in mind.
Okay, holy weapons, remember.
Yes. So Rudy ends up going to the capital city, and he goes to the precinct fortress of the enforcers to meet his father, because the father, issued the summons. And his father is basically planning, a raid on a local drug cartel. And Rudy's like, "Ooh, can I join in? Can I join in?" It's like, "No, this is your first fucking day on the job. You're going to the neighbouring farms, and you're reminding them that a tive's coming up. Oh, but I want to fight the druggies." And it's like, "No, you're going to do the fucking menial work. Because, bottom of the ladder, you got to start somewhere." So, to help him in his duty, Rudy's partnered with an older enforcer called Terrany, who henceforth I shall call Terry, again for ease of, delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So Rudy and Terry end up going to neighbouring farms and, telling people, "Right, the tive's in about 90 days. Are you prepared to feed the Emperor's armies? Because if you're not, you're going to have to be punished." It's like, "No, we're ready, we're ready." It's like, "Okay, who's the bookkeeper here?" "I am." "Show us your books." And the books will have all the tithe details and all that. And then these books are literally 5 feet tall. Had to be carried out by a team of people to be placed on a massive metal desk. And it's typical imperial bureaucratic, record keeping, all that. And on this one farm, they're told, Terry asks, "Right, you got any dissidents on this farm?" "Yeah, we got one." "Good, bring him out. We're going to punish him in front of all the other workers just so he can prove a point." Because as it turns out, all the workers on all these farms, they're all criminals. Basically, you've been punished, you've been found guilty of a crime, so your punishment is that you and your family are going to be working on these farms for X amount of generations until you've paid off your debt to society or whatever.
Ah, the North Korean method.
Yeah. And one dissident gets, carted out. His crime, he was talking back to his master, can't have that. So Terry says, "Right, go on, Rudy, you shoot him." "Why me?" "Because you're the new guy, you got to do it." So Rudy says, "May the Emperor judge you fairly, for we shall not, blah, blah." Shoots him. The guy's head literally just explodes. And Terry's like, "What the fuck did you shoot him with?" This. "Yeah, don't use man-stopper rounds next time. Use some regular fucking bullets." So over the course of several weeks, they're going to all these farms, reminding them, tive's coming up, don't do your tives, if you don't do them, there'll be consequences, police brutality and all that. And they're getting ready to head back to the capital after several weeks, but they get call in place saying, "Right, there's one more farm you got to go to. It's quite far out in the middle of fucking nowhere. But things are a bit iffy with them, so we just need to make sure, you keep on the straight and narrow." "Yeah, no problem." So they go to this farm really out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And what they're greeted with, all the indentured servants, indentured field workers, they're all members of a sanguinary cult. Like, they've all mutilated their faces and their arms, like deep cuts, cutting off their lips, eyelids, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Your standard, 40k cult type stuff.
Yep.
And they get there, it's like, right, who's the bookkeeper? That'll be me. Right. Goes to the office. Yeah, truly, so I'm not really the bookkeeper. I'm like the assistant bookkeeper. We've been waiting for a replacement bookkeeper because the other one, died. How did he die? We don't really know. We just found he was just eviscerated.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, par for the course. But we've been asking, the guys in the capital for weeks, for a replacement, but no one's come to send anything. Oh, by the way, did you bring a confessor with you like we asked? No. Why wouldn't we need to bring a confessor? This place is cursed. And in your typical horror movie fashion. And as they're talking, Rudy notices a servo skull, the titular bookkeeper's skull. And it's a very janky, crude-looking piece of shit. Like, the metal's all rusting. It's still got the person's spine hanging from it, that kind of thing. Very, very crudely made. And it's like, it just stares at them really weirdly and before it bumps into shit before trying to fly off or whatever. It's like, a bit fucking weird, but okay. So, they got to stay for a few weeks while they got to deal with some issues around the farm because nothing's really adding up, so they're going to investigate it. And one night, Rudy goes out basically to try and look for a toilet. And as he's walking, through the farmland or whatever, he sees, a stereotypical creepy little girl. White nightgown, long black hair, something out of a Japanese horror movie.
Yeah, I know the type.
And it's like, who are you? And the little girl's like, you need to leave. The straw man doesn't like it here. Doesn't like the fact you're here. We all need to leave because the straw man doesn't like us. Who's the straw man?
Oh, God.
And before the little girl can say anything further, their mother that comes running through the fields, it's like, you can't be saying that kind of naughty stuff. And it's like, don't worry, officer. She's a good girl. She's a good girl. She's not a psycho, by the way. Spoiler, she's a fucking psycho.
Yeah, no fucking duh.
And Rudy's like, that's all a bit fucking weird. I'll ask about the straw man in the morning.
You aren't going to see the morning.
No, he sees him on. Next morning, he's asking the interim bookkeeper, what's this straw man thing? And by the way, what's all the thing about the sanguinary cult as well while you're at it? Now, the reason behind the sanguinary cult is a few weeks ago, the farm got a visit from some quote-unquote prophet who calls himself Unworthy as his name. Like, he used to be a nobleman, but he gave up all of his titles, his money, etc., because he was, and even his name, because he was unworthy of it, because the emperor was unhappy, so we need to go and please the emperor. And the only way the emperor can be happy is through bloodshed and shedding, and, blood purifies all, that kind of thing.
Sounds about right.
And Rudy and Terry are like, this guy's fucking nuts. Yep. And when they do eventually meet Unworthy's like, who are you to speak for the emperor? It's like, we're enforcers, the enforcers of his law.
So shut the fuck up and pipe down.
Yeah, and they even bring out one of those fancy, Lex Imperialis scroll type things, like, see, here's our proof of it, and all the servers are like, oh my god, we want to touch it because it's, something sacred to the emperor. It's like, fuck off.
I think a more accurate response would have been like, sir, I can't fucking read.
Yeah, don't ever try to tell an Imperial agent what the Emperor wants, because you will be put in your place, and if you don't comply with that, you will be at the end of a las round.
Well, you see, what the Emperor wants is what I want right now, and if you disagree with me, I have a gun.
Precisely.
Anyway,
the entire Inquisition ever. Sorry.
The two cops basically end up reiterating, like, right, you got to get this harvest done, because, if you don't get the harvest done, you're not feeding the Emperor's armies, and the Emperor will be very angry with you, and the Emperor will punish you, and we'll be doing the punishing on his behalf because police brutality. Grr. But I'm worried. It's like, no, they don't speak for the Emperor. The Emperor's already angry with us. That's why this place is cursed. Ugh, for fuck's sake, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake, indeed.
Anyway, later on, the interim bookkeeper goes to the enforcer saying, hey, while you're here, could you check on this person named Mama Maria? She used to be an indentured serf, but she actually paid off her debt a couple of years ago, so we actually gave her a bit of plot of land for her to farm for herself.
Okay.
Which is, fair enough. You paid off your debt to society, now we've got to give you some land and a job. Fair enough. Do as you please.
By the Imperial standards, that's practically utopian.
Yes. So they go to her own little private farmstead, because no one's heard from her in a while, and they can't get hold of her. So they go to the house. Mama Maria, anyone here? Inside the house has been completely trashed, wrecked.
Okay.
Go out, look for the house. No sign of her. Open the back door. There's a fucking grok staring right at them. Now, for those of you who don't know, a grox is basically the Imperium's main livestock animal, and it's basically what happens if you cross a cow with a Tyrannosaurus.
And they hit like a fucking truck.
And they're hyper-aggressive.
They're also dumb.
Basically, what happened is, either intentionally or not, the electric fences around the Grox pens have failed.
Yep.
Now, the Grox pens, you ever seen Jurassic Park?
Yeah, I was about to say, so it's Jurassic Park, where...
Basically, the Velociraptor pen in Jurassic Park, that's what the Grox are kept in. Literally, like, it's a hole in the ground with electric fencing over the top of it. So they end up, like, shooting this Grox, because this Grox, dangerous. You can't let a loose Grox live.
Nope.
They kill it. Oh, this one's only a baby.
Shit.
And they look around the farm and they see an adult Grox that's eating the week-long dead remains of Mama Maria.
Lovely.
So Rudy gets his gun out. He's like, right, got to take this up before it spots me. Shoots it. Clips the Grox on the shoulder. The Grox is now pissed off.
Yeah, run.
Yeah, he's basically running for his life. He gets cornered. Grox is mouth open, about to bite his head off. Several man-stopper rounds inside the mouth. Bang, 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 bang. Now it drops dead after several shots. It's like, I use mostly man-stopper rounds now. Fuck. But they end up going around. All the other Grox are dead, like killed by the bigger Grox.
Yeah.
Because, as it turns out, the big Grox was also a bull Grox. And the bull Grox are the only Grox around that are not lobotomized, because you got to keep them unlobotomized so they can actually have sex with the other Grox.
Okay, it's getting weird. The word Grox is getting soured for me now, because you've said it about 50 times, and it's like it sounds so weird now you've said it so many times.
But they kill all of the Grox on the site, or anyone that's left anyway.
Yep.
But one's missing.
Shit.
So they have to go back to the other farm and basically warn everyone, hey, one of the Grox has gotten loose. You might want to tell the overseers who actually have the guns to keep an eye out, make sure they travel in twos, just so someone doesn't get taken away unaware or whatever. But when they return, they find that one of the serfs has been killed, been disemboweled, but there's also a puncture wound in their head, like from a drill. And there's also, by the body, there is a little straw man, like a little scarecrow. Remember earlier about the straw man?
Yes.
No, I'm not saying the dog did it. It's like his calling card. And they ask about the straw man to the assistant bookkeeper. It's like, oh, it's something that little girl, Agatha, keeps mentioning. It's like, all right, who was the woman who came out to grab her the other night? Oh, that'll be her mother. She's the alewife. Basically the person in charge of brewing the beer. So, right, I'm going to speak to her about it. So they interrogate her. Because, like, hey, if it seems a bit, like your child's a bit weird. You think she's a psycho. No, she's a good girl. She's a good girl. It's like, you know something about that murder, don't you? No, I don't. Well, I think you do. And if you don't tell us what we need to know, we might have to take your kid away to the black ships.
Oh dear.
It's like, no, not that. She's a good girl. She's a good girl. She ends up telling them everything she knows. She doesn't know, what's killing everyone. She doesn't know about the curse. She doesn't know about unworthy or anything like that. Though Terry, just to prove a point, just ends up gouging out her eyes because, police brutality. We've got to make a point, see, Rudy. So I'm going to stick my thumb in her eye and gouge it out. Because Imperium.
Of course.
Yeah. Later on, they end up going into, one of the algal greenhouses where they grow, ferment algae and stuff like that, for flour and stuff like that. I keep saying stuff like that a lot, don't I? Anyway. There's another dead body in there. Eviscerated, drill at the back of the head, drill hole, puncture wound. It's like, okay, this is getting a bit fucked up now. Well, I can't do anything right now. Let's get some kip and we'll try and look into it in the morning. We've got some more light. During the night, Rudy goes out to use the toilet again. And as he's using the toilet, he notices there's a straw man right by the window. It's like, okay, someone's fucking with us now. As you do. And because... and next day, a storm's approaching on the horizon, like a massive dust storm. And because of that, they can't actually leave the property until the storm's clear, because they literally can't, because it's that violent. It's basically like a dust tornado kind of thing. And Unworthy's telling all the servants, this is a sign of the Emperor's displeasure. We all, we must repent for our sins. And one of the serfs ends up knocking over a small statue of the Emperor. And Unworthy's like, he's the one who's brought the curse on us. We must punish him. And all the other serfs start beating the shit out of him, trying to beat him to death. So Rudy just wades in, firing his gun into the air. It's like, right, that's enough. Right fucking now. We're the ones in charge, not you. Everyone get back to work. Not you, Unworthy. Come here. And he drags Unworthy off. Unworthy's spouting, his religious, dogma and all that. So what Rudy does, he tosses Unworthy into a Grok's pen.
Shit.
Yeah. He doesn't even hit the ground. The Grox literally leaps into the air and grabs him before he hits the ground and bites him in half.
Fucking hell.
And Rudy's like, well, that's that problem sorted, isn't it? Because he thinks it's a bit weird we have this quote-unquote prophet and then it turns up and all of a sudden people start dying. Bit weird that. So, logical conclusion, he must be behind the killings. Problem is the killings don't stop.
Of course they don't.
No. And one of the victims ends up being Terry. He ends up getting killed. But Rudy only discovers this when he sees a scarecrow that's in a black uniform. It's like, a uniform on that scarecrow looks a bit like an enforcer's uniform. It is an enforcer's uniform. What the fuck? Oh, Terry's dead. His guts are everywhere, and he's got a puncture wound in his head. Right.
Oh, dear.
Fuck. Yeah, this ain't good. By this point, all the farmhands are going, nah, fuck this. We're leaving. Fuck the harvest. Fuck the tithes. Fuck you. We're gone. And Rudy's trying to get everyone back, in line. It's like, hey, do your fucking job. This is what the Emperor expects of you. And everyone's like, nah, fuck that, mate. Rudy ends up shooting a couple of them, but they end up piling into trucks and try running them over and they just escape.
Yeah.
And there's only basically 3 people left on the entire farm now. Rudy, a Grox shepherd, and the little girl. They're the only people left on the farm.
Oh dear.
So Rudy basically goes into the bookkeeper's office. He basically gets on the radio to the capital C. Right, Officer Terry's dead. The serfs are all fucked off. I need immediate reinforcement now, please. Thank you. By the way, I'm that Lord Enforcer's son. Get here now. Thank you. Click. So, meanwhile, Agatha has been locked away in a small room, basically for containment / protection, because it's a bit dodgy having a psyker potentially running around. And so Rudy basically tells the Grok Shepherd, hey, can you just check on her and make sure she's all right while I try and, contact the capital city? And after he's made the call to the capital for reinforcements, the little girl basically broadcasts a telepathic message into Rudy's mind. You need to get here now. The straw man's coming. The straw man's coming. So he runs down, runs to the basement cell where the little girl is. The Grok Shepherd's dead. He's been disemboweled. Puncture wound. He's like, oh god, what the fuck? Okay, right, I'm going to come into the room with you, little girl, because you're in a safe, ironclad room. That'd be the safest spot to hold out. Where are the keys? The Grok Shepherd's got the keys. Shit. He goes back to the corpse, looking through his, the pockets, whatever, trying to find the keys. At the top of the stairs, you can hear the sound of a drill getting louder and louder. The little girl screaming, hurry, he's almost here, he's almost here. Gets the keys, opens the door, slams the door behind him. Little girl runs up to him, hugs him. Really pushes away, saying, get the fuck off me. Because he's, freaked out about what's happening, and he doesn't like being, in contact with a psyker, even the little girl's, desperately trying to help him. And as the door's been shut down, he feels a little wave of relief wash over him. But then the door handle starts to turn. Oh shit, I left the keys on the outside.
Oh, you idiot.
So he pulls out his auto pistol, loads man-stop around, aims it towards the crack in the door. Was like, right, hopefully I'll be able to get a shot in his head when he opens the door. The little girl grabs him saying, no, shut the door, shut the door. He pushes the girl away, door slams open, knocks him back, killer comes in, slashes with the drill, Rudy rolls out of the way, points the gun, smile you son of a bitch, bang. We cut to later. I'll tell you who the killer was in a minute, because it's funny.
Oh, God.
We cut to later. A whole bunch of other enforcers have turned up. They're taking the little girl away. It's like, we're going to take her to the ecclesiarchy because she has the malady of being a witch, so they need to cure her. So she'll probably either get sent to the black ships or get killed.
Yeah.
We don't know. Mm-hmm. And Rudy's dad's like, right, what happened to Officer Terry? He's dead. Where's the killer? I dealt with it, sir. Right. I'll be interested in reading your report. So ends up going back to the city, the little girl. Little girl gets taken away to a cathedral. Never see her again. We later find out that Rudy's dad dies. He's now the Lord High Enforcer after killing his half-siblings as well to make sure they don't get the position. Because, imperial bureaucracy and politics and all that.
Yeah.
The farm itself is cordoned off. Yep. Basically, no entry under pain of death and excommunication. And there's literal priests living inside the alcoves of the walls around the farm now that have been erected, basically praying to try and get rid of all the bad juju that's around the farm.
Oh, God.
And that's the end. Right, do you want to know who the killer was?
I have a horrid feeling I'm going to move my microphone and make space for a head desk.
It was the servo skull. And because it turns out the servo skull was made from the skull of a mass murderer.
What? What? The actual what?
Yeah, the servo skull was the skull of a mass murderer. It still retained the spirit of its occupant, and it was going around murdering people with a drill. Like a little drill attachment on the skull.
Good job getting sent to the fucking own zone by a servo skull, guys.
Is there more embarrassing... Well, there are more embarrassing ways to die in the 41st millennium, but being a random Imperial getting murked by your own fucking servo skull has got to be up there. Could you imagine? I'm trying to think of someone who has a servo skull flying around. Some Space Marine captain who uses them, or some guard... Oh, actually, yeah, a guard commander who's got a servo skull floating in his... I am sorry, Castellan, I cannot comply with your request. Pew! And just shoots the fucking commander in the head. Oh my god, that's... Imperial incompetence.
As soon as the reveal, I literally shout out loud, what? Because everything else about this novel, it was so brilliantly paced. The atmosphere was great. It was well written. It was entertaining. It was horrifying in regards to the fucking clown servitor at the beginning.
Yeah, it seems like from everything you said, it was a really good book by the sounds of it.
It was a good book, but the reveal was like, we got Russo'd.
You got bamboozled by a fucking servo skull. Congratulations.
We got Vince Russo'd, bro.
God.
Oh dear. Well, at the very least, it proves that Warhammer does work as a setting for horror. It's just, we are still not very good at writing twist villains.
I'll be honest. I bet you were expecting the fact that the Sanguinary cult was a chaos cult or something, weren't you?
No, that just sounds like regular Imperial cult bullshit of just like, yeah, we need to scarification.
Part of me was going on there's like, going to be like Rudy's being possessed in the night and is doing the killings of his partner and all this or something stupid.
Or there's a little girl who's a psyker doing it or something. Yeah,
I was expecting something warp fuckery / mystical bollocks. I wasn't expecting the servo skull did it. Like, that's more degrading. That's like, basically, that's the butler did it. It's basically just the butler did it, 40k edition.
The servo skull did it in the cornfield with a drill.
God's sake.
Aside from the swerve, bro, everything about this book was great. I recommend people read it because it is actually a really good book. It's not actually that long either, so you can get done in a single weekend if need be.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Hours. But the twist ending, though, was hilarious. It's like tonal whiplash. It's like, it's the killer. It's a fucking servo skull with drill.
It's like at that point, it doesn't matter how good your writing is, your pacing or anything. It's like, it's a servo skull. We know how those work. We know what those look like.
Yeah, if you can't stick the landing, then just don't. Ugh.
I mean, in fairness, they did try and add hints regarding it being a bit dodgy. The fact that I was just staring at people and bump into things. I still had rusted components and a spine still trailing from it to make it look a bit creepy.
Well, yeah, it's like I get that that's creepy, but it's also that's just how servo skulls are.
And it's also establishing a horror tone.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's like, I guess I didn't expect a fucking servo skull to do it. Nothing that you said ever would have led me to believe oh yeah, there was a servo skull doing this.
Yeah, you mentioned a servo skull, and I just plain forgot about it 2 seconds later because it's a fucking servo skull. Why does that matter? It's set dressing.
Yeah, I just thought it was.
This was the antagonist.
For fuck's sake.
It's like the important part of a mystery is that you leave enough breadcrumbs, enough for an audience member to be able to deduce it themselves, or if they can't, when the revelation comes, it's like, oh yeah, that does make sense, doesn't it?
What you should be able to read a book, a mystery / thriller, a second time, and realize all the breadcrumbs that were left for you. Even if you can't work it out the first time because the writer's just that good, you should be able to pick it up on a second read.
I'll say this: it's no "would you kindly" twist.
I was gonna say it's like,
no.
I guess it's not like, oh, a boomerang did it or some shit like that.
I mean, maybe on Cat-chan, but
I mean, it's only one step up from a fucking sentient boomerang.
Oh god.
The skull of a mass murderer armed with a drill flying around murdering
maybe if you mention like hey, the servo skull keeps being weird and floating around, it's sticking close to people, and then fucking, I don't know, it was doing weird shit that you don't expect a servo skull to do. But if it's just, hang on. What?
Sorry, have we ever servo skulls? I know it's considered an honor for people in the Imperium to be turned into servo skulls as recollection for their deeds. I know that happens with things, but has there ever been any evidence that servo skulls are actually, sentient and have a personality?
In the Mechanicus game, there is a servo skull that serves as one of your advisors, and it was it's a servo skull of your character's mentor. So
there's also a skull called Gorgeous in the the Vaults of Terror novels. The the Servo Skull of Inquisitor Crow, it's basically shown to have a personality and arm with a needle rifle as well.
But
well, needle.
in those cases,
yeah.
it's like, oh, this is very advanced, like, technology doing this.
Yeah,
to,
this
like,
is a
preserve
backwater farm on fuck off nowhere.
Although I guess it's like,
With a haunted Servo Skull.
although it's like, I don't know, ghosts and shit do exist in 40k, so like it could have been like weird warp phenomena shit. Maybe the little girl was indirectly responsible for it.
Or maybe the masked murderer was himself a psycho and managed to somehow tether his soul to the Servo Skull.
Yeah. It's like there
but
are
the
ways
fact that
it
we're
could
having
have...
to do this level of MatPat level logic leaps to solve this, it suggests it's a bad twist.
I wouldn't call it MatPat level because like ours are actually based in logic.
Also, we're not going to gift this to the Pope.
We're not going to turn around and say that the Servo Skull is actually Sans, by the way.
Oh, God. Fucking... No, it would have been like, oh, the Servo Skull was actually the murderer because it is a shard of the Night Haunter's personality, or some bullshit like that, you know? It's like, we would have to...
Turns out the Servo Skull was Khan's betrayal all along in disguise.
It's actually a Servo Skull made out of Conrad Kurz's head.
It's like, that's a very big Servo Skull you got there, isn't it, Ogrin?
It's like, that skull is the size of a child. Where'd you get that one?
eBay.
God.
You could probably buy Conrad Kurz's skull on eBay and fucking 40k. They'd love to fucking just take body parts and then be like, yeah, we're just gonna enshrine this or do stupid shit with it.
I know on eBay in real life you can buy parts of the M25. Like literal parts of the actual tarmac.
Oh, for God's sake.
Because people literally rip up bits of the tarmac and just chuck it on eBay for like 50 quid.
God,
a bit of the motorway.
if the Emperor does exist, they will be despairing at the state of humanity.
No, I think the Emperor likes this. With every stupid decision that he keeps making, it's like, yeah, no, he's like, yeah, no, I can get behind this. I'm gonna start the Horus Heresy on purpose. And also, the Earth is flat. That's true, my son.
I mean, the Emperor was that level of a moron sometimes.
I made the Earth flat on purpose with my psychic brain.
And it turns out the Earth's actually a donut.
And the moon is hollow.
And shaped like a velociraptor.
And there's a communist gangster computer god on it.
Yeah, they were called the Selenar. Hey!
Oh god. I can't mention communist gangster computer god stuff because that would get this video demonetized if I went into detail of where that comes from.
Yeah.
And given the time frame, we will call that the end. So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. And thank you very much to Fresh for his insight, shall we say.
It's always a pleasure to be here, and I don't know, I keep coming back for a reason. Even if that reason is everyone else is dead.
Yeah, it was one of those, like, I have had no time to catch up with 40k for ages. You're going to have to fill me in before we start, type thing. And it's just like, yep, that's fine. Because, you know, it's always fun to reinvigorate people with the hobby. And, well, apart from Snipe and Wib, you never get more tangents than a Fresh episode.
It's true. When I go on a tangent,
and by the way, you two, start a Power Rangers podcast, would you? Because you two could go on about that for fucking years.
I don't want to fucking watch more Power Rangers. It fucking sucks. I don't want to watch it. I don't.
Fair enough. All right. I will spare you your torture in that case.
I mean, what would I even say besides, like, man, this sure is some fucking horseshit I'm witnessing here, isn't it?
Something like that.
You can always make it a drinking game. Like every time, like, you know, they call out their powers, whatever.
Remleiz, are you...
Take a shot
want
and say
to
more
die, Remleiz?
Yeah, Remleiz, there's better ways to commit suicide.
Yeah, there's a Transformers Energon drinking game as well.
And on that bombshell.
And on that,
that
bombshell. We bid you all a good evening, noon, or night, wherever you might be.
Yes. Until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
This has been me from Tactica Imperialis.
And it's been me, Fresh of Fresh.
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.